Hello, Assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you're all safe, sound and healthy. And today I'm going to talk about three different things. They are not connected, but at the same time they are connected because after all it's all to do with humankind, humanity, and the irony and the hypocrisy of it all. Number one, Palestine, Lebanon. What is the world waiting for? Are you literally waiting for Israel, America, UK and their fellow Western NATO allies to attack you next before you actually strive to stop this war? You do know, seriously, if somebody like me, if I know, and I've known for years that they are actually literally working towards another world war, and they're deliberately doing that, and I've talked about it like a million times, a bazillion times in a bazillion different ways. If you and I know, then why is it that our leaders are not doing anything about it? Obviously, because it goes against their interests. The fact that it is incumbent, it is an obligation on all Muslim leaders of all Muslim countries of the whole Muslim world to declare jihad against all those countries that are funding and committing genocide in Palestine, those that are funding and committing war crimes. War in itself is a crime, so I'm putting it as war crimes against Lebanon. Any country that tries to attack any Muslim country, it is incumbent upon the whole Muslim world to declare jihad against that country. And if you remember, and this is something that I put not very good, I guess not in a very good way, in my novels as well, but this is something that the Americans tried to cripple in their 9/11 charade, which was a false flag operation, which was specifically done for this very reason, where they wanted to cripple the Islamic world's stand on jihad. They went all Islamophobic. They made all their ignorant, sheep-like, half-assed, ignorant masses of the Western world, they wrapped them around their fingers in the world of ignorance, as always, in which they literally scared them about Islam and Islamophobia, making them forget the fact that they are where they are today because of the very Islam that they are walking against and talking against and working against. The fact that they had to borrow the Islamic legal system, the Islamic welfare system, the Islamic infrastructural system, the Islamic society system, the whole Islamic system. The fact that they had to borrow that system and implement it in order to make their countries developed to where they are today. All your women rights, your children rights, your family rights, everything is taken from Islamic Sharia system, right? You had none of these. Let me remind you once again, the Western countries, none of them, they had none of these. They did not have women rights, they did not have children rights, they did not have abortion rights, they did not have divorce rights, they didn't have anything, okay? In your pre and pro and post-colonial days, you've been struggling to get what in Islamic countries were already our God-given rights. You actually had to fight for those rights. And then you were lucky that you got people involved who decided to revamp your constitution in the light of the Islamic system. And if you talk to anybody who is involved in constitutional law, who is involved in the legal system, who is involved in the judiciary of any of these countries in the Western world, not just the Western world, even many of the Eastern countries in our part of the world, if you talk to them, they will very openly, very clearly tell you that yes, we are implementing the Sharia, but the people don't know that because they prefer the people to be ignorant. So the day Trump decided to strip America of Sharia, the Americans went berserk. But why? I mean, as I said it even that time, I thought you guys were against Islam. I thought you didn't want the Islamic system. So Trump was doing you a big favor. He was showing you that, okay, listen, we're going to remove abortion rights. We're going to remove divorce rights. We're going to remove women's rights. We're going to treat women as sexual objects, which is the true white Christian way, So why did you have a problem with it? Seriously, the whole concept of having a secular law is again taken from the Sharia because the Sharia is in itself a dual It's a dual legal system where you have one branch of it, which is secular law for all the non-Muslims in a Muslim country, and then you have the Sharia itself, which encompasses only the Muslims of that Muslim country, because that is what the Sharia is all about. The foundation of the Sharia law is that you must have a secular law, because non-Muslims cannot be forced to be punished according to the Sharia rules and laws, because it doesn't apply to them, because it applies only and only to Muslims. And this is why in every single Muslim country, we always have two legal systems that run parallel. You've got the Sharia courts and you've got the secular courts. And so this system again stems from the Sharia legal system, which the Americans and the British and the Europeans took over and implemented with great gusto. And they failed to, remind their people that, listen, this is what we've borrowed from the Muslims. This is what we've borrowed from the Muslim empire. And now you just decided that, okay, because, we have steeped everybody into ignorance and we have to use everything into our advantage. And we need, because as I said, this was a plan that they concocted right after they decided to allegedly leave their, colonies. Because as I'll remind you again, the British never intended to leave their colonies, and neither did the French. Okay, so they just pretended to back off. They pretended to, leave those countries that they occupied, which, by the way, let me once again remind you, all those countries that were occupied were the developed countries of their time. And the occupiers, the Westerners, they were the third world countries of their time, and they wanted to know how those countries were developed. They wanted to steal from those countries, basically. Forget about how they were developed, but mainly they wanted to steal resources, and they did. And they're still stealing resources from those countries, even though they allegedly have left those countries. They have left them as colonials, but they're actually still imposing, a shadow colonial rule upon all their ex-colonies. And most of them are Muslim countries again, because remember, that time it was the Islamic empire that was thriving. It was the Muslim empire that was extremely rich, extremely successful. They achieved great successes. They're the ones that actually brought science into the world. They're the ones that worked in technology and medicine. They're the ones that worked on any and every subject you can think about, be it math, be it anything. And this is what, once again, this is all borrowed by the Westerners, and they decided to call themselves father of this and father of that. Father be damned. You just literally stole the research and all the achievements of medieval Muslim scientists, and you just worked a little bit on them, added a little bit more, and you decided to just, take credit for the whole thing. But history, you can't stop history from coming out, because it is actually recorded. Because that's another thing the Muslims did very well. They kept records. And this is why we have records of medieval Muslim scholars, of scientists, mathematicians, astrologists. We've got books and books of theirs. We've got a lot of their research work, which, because even now, even in today's world, even in the universities, when you specialize in any one of these subjects, you have to, one way or the other, go back to those books in order to do your own research, in order to understand what you need to study, and in order to work on your thesis. So yeah, let's not fool ourselves here, okay? The point being that the American government worked very, very hard. And I remember that because this is something I commented on when it was actually going on, that they were particularly trying to dehumanize the Muslims, because they wanted basically to cripple the whole jihad movement before it could ever start, because they were focusing on working with Israel to finally start a full-fledged genocide in Palestine. Let me remind you again that this genocide did not happen overnight. It's been going on. It's just that now the world knows, but it's been going on, okay? And they decided that they would only be safe, they would only be safe to openly work on this genocide in front of the whole world once they have crippled the Muslim countries, once they have crippled, because they had set terror amongst the whole world that, look, if any Muslim talks about jihad, he's going to commit terrorism and he's going to be a terrorist, And this is how they try to change the narrative of jihad. so that people should get scared even if they talk about jihad, so that people should be so busy defending the concept of jihad, so that the people should back off and not actually announce jihad as openly and readily as the Muslim countries have known to have been doing in the past. Now, again, although why this fear, I don't know. Maybe because they planned to literally start occupying and, waging wars and attacking other Muslim countries. Maybe that was why they did not want the Muslim countries to be together, to be united, or to even think about jihad. And that is obviously why they attacked Imran Khan and why he's in jail, because Imran Khan had no fear, and he was very, very open and transparent in his workings towards uniting the whole Muslim Ummah, towards knocking some sense into the Middle Eastern countries that were very much under the thumb of the Americans and the British and the Israelis. And he was, beginning to teach them to have some conscience, some shame as Muslim countries. So he was beginning to unite all the Muslim countries, and that is why he is in jail today. You need to understand that. In fact, I don't care if you even do understand that or not, because everybody and anybody concerned already understands that. So now we're at this point where they have now just decided to just openly commit war crimes, and the whole world is sitting tight, just yell. It's literally like how, when somebody's doing something bad in front of you and you're way up there and you're shouting, don't do it, oh my dear, don't do it, oh I can see you doing it, don't do it, instead of actually going there, smacking them, taking the thing out of their hand and tying them up. So this is what the world is doing. The world is sitting in their balconies, in their safety nets, in their safety zones, from the safety of their own walls. They're just shouting out loud, oh, don't do it, don't do it. What the fuck is that? I mean, seriously, the whole world has suddenly become crippled. Is that it? The Muslim countries, have you died? Have you already died and gone to hell? Because that's exactly where you're going to go. Because God is actually going to ask you about that. And it is not the people of the Muslim countries, mind you, because the people of the Muslim countries are already making enough noise. No, it's always incumbent on the leaders. The leaders will take responsibility for whatever decision they make as Muslim leaders, as leaders of the Muslim Ummah. So all our Muslim leaders are actually Muslim in name only. Because remember, that is again one of the ways that the British, the Americans, how they kept the colonies in their hand, is that they did not allow any actual Muslim leader to lead their country. They did not allow anyone who was capable to lead their country, because they were scared, and they always knew that. And this is an old pattern of the white man, where they will always put somebody, who has no merit, no qualities, somebody who's their puppet, somebody who's a traitor to their own country, somebody who's been licking their asses in their boots, somebody who they pay millions and millions, to destroy their own countries. So like how we've got Nawaz Sharif and his whole family, we've got Zardari and his family, we've got our army chief, we've got these people are deliberately chosen by the Western world and put, shoved into the mouths of the people of their ex-colonies, so that they can keep those colonies within their grasp, so that they can continue to control those colonies. And that is exactly what they're doing right now. And that is why no Muslim leader, except for the Turkish, except for the Iranian leaders, except for the Lebanese, these are those people who did not come into their grasp. Well, that is where Turkey never was in their grasp. Anyway, with Turkey, they actually did a secret deal, and that the time of that deal is over. 100 years are now almost up. And this is why they're shitting their pants there. And on the other side now, Malaysia and Indonesia, which are really the biggest but the most silent Muslim countries ever, because of Imran Khan, they were beginning to get active too. So that's why Imran Khan posed a danger. And so, basically, what they fear, what the Western world fears, is that if the Muslim Ummah rises up once again, if all their so-called Muhammadans will rise up against them, then they are doomed. So they are trying their level best that the Muslim Ummah should stay divided. They should be, under the rule of people who are looking after their own personal interests and who are ready to sell their souls and their religion, their faith, everything, for money, for material benefits. Well, those people are not Muslims in the first place, according to the Islamic law. And those people are considered as mushrik and munafiqeen. And so they're going to, anyway, die a horrible death. And they can, continue to live in hell with their fellow, non Muslims with whom they're working against Palestine and against Lebanon and against all the other Muslims. Or even non Muslims that are innocent and being, subjected to oppression. So it is the obligation of a Muslim to free any and every country from oppression. And yet our Muslim leaders are silent. Okay, fuck them. What about the non-Muslim leaders who think that they're above everybody, who think that they're so righteous and that they are so holy and sacred, and that they're, they're always advocating about human rights? Where the fuck are they? What are they doing? They're just, standing right behind their safety nets and saying, oh, don't do it. Oh, don't do it. Fuck you people, seriously. This is the height of hypocrisy. This is the height of cowardice. I mean, who the hell are you trying to fool here right now? Who are you trying to fool? And that just shows, actually the whole world is a reflection of humanity. It's a reflection of our human beings as a civilization, of the humankind. It's why I've always said that our civilization has always been going towards regression, not progression, right? And it is all thanks to the Western world here. I give full credit to the Western world for regressing the civilization to the point where it is today, where it has dehumanized everybody and where it is constantly screaming, victim. It's always playing the victim card. I mean, seriously, I very, very much doubt the whole history, the whole narrative that the Jews created about Germany, about the Nazis, because from the looks of it, every single thing that they blamed the Nazis to have done, I see the Jews doing it in Palestine. And I know that if you've gone through something like that, you would never do it to somebody else. You would be extra, extra sensitive. But you would do it to somebody else if you've done it before, and successfully so. So, yeah, I very much doubt the Americanized narrative, the Western narrative of, the victim card that the Jews play. I'm sorry, but I have a problem with that, because what I can see right from the past till date is that the Western countries and the Jewish people, they worked together to occupy Palestine. They have been working together to try to occupy Syria, Lebanon, the whole belt, the whole belt. They're after the whole belt. And the French, on the other hand, they're still trying to, control Algeria, Morocco, Tunisia. They're still trying to, all the terrorist incidents that occurred in Africa, on that side especially. If you trace it back, you will find out that it was all done by the French. The French government were heavily involved in all the terrorist activities. In fact, even in Nigeria, that whole drama that they put up of a Muslim terrorist group called Boko Haram or whatever, he was essentially a very, very extreme sort of a person and a Christian. He was a Christian extremist who belonged to some Christian cult, and there was nothing Muslim about his whole group. They were not Muslims. He was not a Muslim, and they advertised themselves to be Muslims. But every single thing that they did was very clearly very Christian cultish. So it's all Nazism again, Nazis were again, basically Christian extremists. So you have Jews extremists all over the world. You've got Christian extremists all over the world. You've got the Hindu extremists also that wreaked havoc in Sri Lanka. And then you actually have the gall to talk about how Muslims are extremists. My dear, if Muslims were extremists, you wouldn't be here today. Believe me. If Muslims were extremists, it wouldn't be mosques that they would be attacking, but churches and temples. If Muslims were extremists, by now, America and Europe, very, very sorry to say, but I'm not at all sorry because it's a fact, they would have ceased to exist. Okay? Because the things that the Americans and the British, the Europeans have done to all the various Muslims all over the world, to the Muslim countries, to the masses, if the Muslims were out for revenge, I'm sorry, but you would not have existed today. And that is exactly what you know, and that is exactly what you fear. And that is exactly why you've been dehumanizing the Muslims, and why you've been changing the narrative about Islam and Muslims, is because you fear that if the Muslims would, were not dehumanized, then you would be in deep shit. But you know what? You're still going to be in deep shit, because this war that you've started thinking that is going to benefit you, this is exactly what's going to destroy you. And you deserve it. I'm sorry. But I believe, to me, this is where my next point comes. I don't believe in that bullshit karma thing that people go on about where, oh, he's got his karma. I'm sorry. How is that helping me, the victim? Okay, so somebody has just hurt me, somebody has given me a lot of pain, I'm going through heavy losses because of somebody has wronged me. Now suddenly that person has gone and fallen into a ditch, maybe he's broken his neck. Okay, who cares? Is that helping me? Has my loss been reversed? Am I undoing the pain? Is my trauma any lesser? Sorry, how did that help me? That is the worst, most pathetic thing I've ever heard in the name of justice. That's not justice. That is bullshit. Similarly, there is no compensation if whatever has been done is not undone. That's not justice. That's not compensation. That's not karma. I'm sorry. So I don't know what it is that people are trying to always change narratives about in order to fool people, or to, give false hope to people, or to just, make people complacent so that they can, continue to control people, so that they can continue to control their victims, so that they can continue to control the witnesses. This is all complete bullshit. Okay, I don't care if America gets destroyed by its own, acts. I don't care that the British or the Europeans destroy themselves. Tell me, is it going to undestroy Palestine? Is it going to undestroy Lebanon? Is it going to undestroy Syria? Is it going to undestroy Pakistan? Is it going to undestroy all the Muslim countries that have suffered at their hands? What? If they get destroyed, are we going to get rid of their minions that are here on our backs? Well, actually, yeah, maybe we are going to. But the damage that's been done, the damage that they have done to our countries for the past 2 decades, 3 decades, 4 decades, depending on which country it is, tell me, are they going to undo that damage? So tell me, what justice have we got? What justice have we got? So who cares if America and Europe and Canada and all their allies, if they destroy themselves in their greed, as warmongers? Who cares? Because we're not getting compensated for that. Compensation means undoing the wrong that was done. So where is the wrong being undone? Are all those dead Palestinians going to come back to life? All those kids that have been dismembered, are the parts of their body going to be put together again? Tell me, you people. What, you're just going to do what you always do, you Americans and British? You fuck Iraq, and then after 10 years you're like, oh, we fucked Iraq, we were so wrong, we apologize. Seriously? Why don't you kill yourselves and apologize to us? Why don't you go and kill your children, dismember them, and then apologize to us? Maybe that might make us feel better. Yeah, because, that's what justice really is. Justice is an eye for an eye. And that is your law. That is the Jewish law, by the way, where you have an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So please go and kill your own children, bomb your homes, demolish your homes, remove your people, make them homeless, occupy your own people, rape them, dismember their kids, bury them alive, do not allow doctors to help them, do not give them food, do not give them aid, then yeah, okay, maybe I'll consider that justice. Maybe the whole world will, say, okay, fine. Are you ready to do that? We don't want your stupid apologies. We don't. No matter what you do, it's not going to bring all the people that you have killed back. It's not going to undo all the damage that you've done during your occupation, during your illegal occupation of a land that is older than you people. You people, you were living in Europe. You spoke Yiddish. Why don't you just go back to where you came from? In fact, you know what? I would have been on your side if you had fought the British, the French, the Italians, the Germans, if you had fought the Americans, because they were the ones, according to the history that you created and narrated, they were the Christian extremists that went against you. They were the Nazis who didn't let you live in peace. They were the ones that tormented you. They were the ones that committed genocide. They were the ones that tried ethnic cleansing. So tell me, Why are you working with them against the people that helped you, that gave you refuge? Why? It was the Muslims that gave you refuge. You were the camel that entered the Arab's tent, you know. The Arab was generous enough to give you a little bit of space in his tent so that you could get away from the cold, and you decided to occupy his whole tent. That's the kind of people you are. So tell me, why would anybody sympathize with you? You know, I would sympathize with you, I would empathize with you if you would actually go and fight the very people that kicked you out of your own homes in Europe. You are Europeans. You should go back to Europe. You should fight for your rights there. You should fight for your land there. You should fight for your homes there. Your homes were taken away from you in Europe. The Muslims gave you refuge, and you decided to steal their homes. You decided to steal their land. I mean, is that what you people are made up of? Seriously? That is the height of cowardice. I mean, seriously, and you call yourselves the favorites of God? No wonder God cursed you to live without a land till the end of time. And you know, this is on the record curse. This is on the record curse that God has cursed you for defying him again and again, that you will now live endlessly without a land to call your own. And see, for how many years have you been fighting? And Palestine is still not your land. You can continue fighting till kingdom comes, and Palestine will still never be your land. Palestine will always be Palestine. There is no Israel. There never was an Israel. Creating a fake country? Seriously? I mean, the name itself, if you look at it, if it was an English person who named it, then I really salute that person's genius, because he said Israel. It's like he's saying, he's trying to convince the world, oh no, it's real, it's real. Yeah, it's not real. It's not real. It's fake. Just by calling it Israel, you know, doesn't make it real. It's not. So seriously, I mean, I do not understand even why is it that you people are living in delusions. You know, America is so huge. The American government, instead of wasting billions and billions of dollars in their taxes on you, trying to occupy a land that you will never, ever, ever be able to, why doesn't, if America is truly, truly sincere to you, why doesn't America give you a place in their own land? America's huge. It's an actual continent, really, all on its own, all by itself. Why doesn't it give you a whole country? You can carve out a whole country that could be 5 times bigger than Palestine. Why isn't America giving you that country? Because from what I see, I mean, the history that you narrate, America owes you. British people owe you. The French, the Italians, the Germans, the Europeans, they owe you. So tell me, why are we paying their debt? Why are the Muslims who gave you refuge, who gave you safety, who gave you protection, why are we paying their debt? They owe you, you go and collect from them. Or are you scared? Are you still scared of them? Is that it? Is that it? I mean, seriously, are you Jews still scared of the fanatic Christians, the Nazis? Are you so scared of them that you cannot go and fight back for what's yours? Is that it? Is that actually the whole truth behind it all? So much for you being Jews, and so much for you being such powerful nations, and so much, I mean, for you being the superior race. You've just ended up making a joke out of yourselves. You're a laughing stock right now for the rest of the world. I mean, seriously, the very people that kicked you out of your own home, you're working with those people now to kick other people out of their homes? Seriously, on those people who actually gave you protection, gave you refuge? Amazing. You're teaching the world that they should never, ever, ever do kindness. You're teaching the world, you're teaching your own children that you should never, ever, ever help somebody who's in trouble, because that person can just bite you, you know. So never keep a dog, never feed that dog, because that's just going to bite your hand. So yeah, we should never ever have given you protection and refuge. That's the lesson we have learned. We should have allowed your enemies to do whatever it is that they wanted to do with you. Yeah, you see, but see, that's the problem. As Muslims, the very Muslims that you devile, very Muslims that you talk against, the very Muslims that you call terrorists, these are the Muslims that always give refuge to all those oppressed, regardless of their religion, whether they're Buddhists or Hindus or Christians or, you know, just atheists, it doesn't matter who you are. If you're oppressed, the first people to offer you protection and refuge in a very peaceful manner, are the Muslims. They are the first to open their lands to you. They're the first to open their homes to you. And you are the first to bite them in the hand. It doesn't matter which religion you're from, but I've noticed that throughout history. Even if you're the Buddhists, look at Burma. Look at Burma that has decided to call itself Myanmar. The terrorist activities against the Muslims over there. And the world is silent, and the world comprising of all different religions are silent. All those different religions that have at one point in history taken refuge among the Muslims, they are all silent when the Muslims are being oppressed. It's amazing. But yeah, it has taught the Muslims a lesson. It has taught me at least a lesson. As I said, I'm an eye for an eye kind of a person. I will never, ever, ever give protection to anybody from your side of the world, at least, of your religion, your race, your ethnicity. I would never give protection if, once again, the tide turns and you are oppressed. And I would strongly suggest for the Muslim Ummah to stay away and be silent and ignore it next time it happens, because we are paying for being generous, for being kind, for providing protection to all of you people. We're paying for it till date. When we helped the Christians, when we helped the Jews, when we helped the Buddhists, we're paying for it in various places all over the world. We can see that. The fact that we have always given protection to minorities, or we have always given protection to other people that are oppressed, regardless of them being minorities or majorities, and the fact that when it comes to our own people, we're silent, that is also a big irony. Why? Again, because our leaders are not Muslims. They're Muslims in name, but they're not Muslims. The first thing that the Americans and the British make sure before planting leaders in the Muslim countries is to have them withdraw from their religion. And the same as with Nawaz Sharif, Zardari and all. They literally have this secret written paper where they sign out, and they sign off on their religion. And when they tell them that, yeah, no, we're not really Muslims. We have nothing to do with Islam. Don't you worry about that, So, and then they make the chief of army do that as well, by the way. So, when they ensure you that, yeah, no, we have nothing to do with religion, we can sell our faith anytime, we're not Muslims. And that is when the Western world is very, very happy to place them as leaders in different Muslim countries of the Muslim world. And that is what we're witnessing the consequences of today. So, yeah, again, at the end of the day, we're all paying the price of somebody else's shit, somebody else's act, somebody else's decision. It's amazing. You have a very fistful of minority that the whole world doesn't seem to be able to fight off. It's amazing. Like literally, we have minorities dominating over majority. I thought majority was authority. So what the hell is this world about where you've got a minority dominant upon a majority? We are clearly majority as masses, and yet we have been manipulated by a very mentally sick minority. We've been manipulated by hypocrites. We've been manipulated by thieves and plunderers. We've been manipulated by criminals who have called themselves our leaders. And what are we doing? Okay, the Americans who think there's so much, they think they're above everything, they think they know all about human rights and all. What have you done to stop your government? You witnessed your government destroying Vietnam. You witnessed your government breaking laws and entering into other countries like Colombia. You've witnessed your government breaking laws when they attacked Iraq. You've witnessed your government being behind the genocide in Bosnia. You've witnessed your government in Afghanistan. You've witnessed your government in Syria. You've witnessed your government in Lebanon. You've witnessed your government in Palestine. What have you done? Now, seriously, American citizens, what the fuck have you done till date to stop your government? All you do is just make a lot of noise, and then at the end, when all the damage is done, you have never once compensated any of these countries. Instead, you have continued to steal from them, even till date. Till date, the Egyptian embassy is working to get stolen items back from America. We have stolen items still in Britain. You know, India still has stolen items in Britain, but who cares about India at this point, since India seems to be very cozy, working with Britain and America, and Israel against Palestinians. In fact, India is working in cahoots with America and Israel on occupied Kashmir, no less. So yeah, okay, India, you know what? I don't give a frack about you. You can get destroyed for all I care at that point. But again, the rest of the world, the masses, I'm talking about the masses here. I'm talking about the Indian masses, even the American masses. I mean, seriously, what have you ever done to stop your government? You always talk about how you're a democracy and how the people have the power and majority is authority. And seriously, what have you ever done to stop your government from pulling this kind of shit day in and day out for decades? Yeah, think about that. I mean, this is something I've mentioned like a billion times as well. But I mean, as the fact that I can see that there is no answer, it shows. It just shows. So yeah, don't be hypocrites and pretend that you're doing the world of good, standing there and protesting against your government. You're just as bad as those countries that are sitting in the safety of their homes and saying, "Oh, don't do it. Oh, don't do it." You know what? Fuck you all. Okay? If you really, really, really believe that you want to make a difference or that you want to stop your government, you would go and physically stop your government. Not just stand in the streets and talk about how Black lives matter and about how brown lives matter or about how white lives matter. No. Or even if you're protesting about how Palestine matters. Yeah, if it matters, show it. Don't talk. Walk the walk, okay? Seriously. I'm so sick of you all. And this is me signing out. Khuda Hafiz.